Hi friends, Travis here. If you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you, and of course, if you've been here before, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about my likes, dislikes, and I'll give some overall thoughts on my Carnival Elation cruise from back in February. I am recording this in the beginning of July, so I'm having to reflect back on my notes and things, but overall, that cruise is still pretty fresh in my mind, and I've also been on that ship twice now, so I do have a lot of opinions about it and what have you. Callie's behind me. So you know this is going to be a good video. But anyway, without any further delay, let's go ahead and move right on into it. As per the usual format, I'm going to start with the dislikes and then we'll do the likes and I'll give my final thoughts at the end. But we're not going to talk too much about it. Let's just do it. For my first dislike, I have to say that I wasn't a fan of the MDR experience and the food. Some dishes were good, but on this particular sailing, I only went to the MDR one time because when I went one time, I was not very impressed. Service was slow. We were like the last table there. I was sat with some cool people. I really looked forward to maybe getting to know them a little bit better, but I ended up with late dining. When I booked this sailing kind of last minute, the early dining was full and I got put on a wait list and whatever, I didn't end up in the earlier seating, which is fine, but that did kind of like conflict with some of the evening entertainment stuff. So that's part of the reason why I missed the dining room, but also I just found the service to be slow. The food was kind of mediocre. And back on my first time on the Elation, the same thing rang true. The first time I went to dinner on that sailing as well, service was way too slow. The wait staff and everything are all nice, and I had a good time with them, connected pretty well with them as per usual. But yeah, I don't know what it is about that particular dining room and the way that it operates, and maybe how things are in relation to the galley or whatever the case, but it's very slow. It was definitely not my favorite dining experience, and because of that, I did a lot more of the quick service buffet, sandwiches kind of stuff instead this sailing. For my second dislike, and this may come off kind of like a little bit of a weird bullet point, but when I was booking this second sailing on Carnival Elation, I wanted to do a longer cruise and I wanted to do different ports, etc. But I was having a hard time finding anything outside of what they normally do. They'll occasionally throw out a 7-day, but it's pretty much just alternating 4 and 5 day itineraries. And they do Nassau Princess Keys or Nassau Bimini, or occasionally they'll throw in Half Moon Key. But those are the 4 ports that you get to go to on the Carnival Elation. There aren't any other ones from what I could see in any of the upcoming itineraries that I looked at. Just Nassau, Princess Keys, Half Moon Key, and Bimini, which are all great ports for the most part. But I would like to see some variety in the itinerary and also some longer sailing options. Since, getting to know a new ship is part of the fun, in my opinion, and on a shorter sailing, I feel like you don't get to really experience the ins and outs of a ship. I'm lucky that I got to go on this ship twice, and so I have a good feel for it at this point. But in general, longer sailings and more diversified ports would be, a good thing, in my opinion. And the last dislike, and this kind of actually ties into what I just talked about with the shorter sailings, is that this ship felt very crowded. We were at or over capacity on both of my sailings, but I don't know what it was about this time. It just felt crowded everywhere. I had to wait in line for things. It took forever to get off or on at the gangway sometimes, etc. And yeah, I found that a little bit kind of frustrating. And it's weird because it didn't seem that way the last time I was on Elation. But just be aware that this ship is small and it's been modified to include more staterooms, and they've added bunks here and there and etc. And so while the layout does allow for pretty good traffic flow overall, if you're at or over double occupancy, you will notice crowding in certain areas. And especially on those shorter sailings, you're likely to be kind of jam-packed into certain, parts of the ship and have to wait in lines and things like that. And so, that can be kind of frustrating if you're not prepared, for all of that madness. But then again, more people means more fun, maybe. So, yeah, it's just something to be aware of. All right, that's enough of the negative stuff. Let's go ahead and talk about what I did enjoy, which was a lot. I did have fun on this sailing overall. I got to hang out a lot more with crew members and things like that. This was a little bit of a unique sailing for me in that regard. But yeah, for my first like, I really enjoyed the improvements that they made to the Wi-Fi. Carnival Elation was in dry dock between my two sailings, so it was very noticeably improved. They, I think, put the Starlink or whatever the new fancy satellite internet is, and they've definitely redistributed like the Wi-Fi routers and whatever mesh system that they're using on board, and I absolutely noticed an improvement night and day compared to my first time on this ship. The second like is that I would say the staff was excellent, especially the entertainment team. Like I said, I got to hang out with them a lot more than normally someone would. And so I, got to see some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. I didn't get inside access necessarily, but got kind of a different perspective on how all that stuff works. And I plan to do a separate video on that at some point. But anyway, yeah, the dedicated staff, the dedicated entertainment team, they really do care. They want to do a good job, and they absolutely work their butts off day in and day out for months at a time to make, these cruises and these sailings as fun as possible for those of us joining them on board. And for my last and final like, I want to draw attention to the kind of small ship vibe that you get on Carnival Elation. On larger ships, you can meet someone the first day and then you never see them again. On ships like the Elation, you get to hang out with the same people every day and get to know the bartenders and staff and, other guests a lot more. And that's, in my opinion, a good thing. It makes things seem more personal and more personable. And so, yeah, I think that's something that a lot of cruise lines are moving away from with their larger ships, trying to put more bells and whistles and pack more people onto, each ship to save money and, have the opportunity to upcharge, etc. for things. But ships like the Elation and even some a little bit newer, and a little bit bigger even, still have that small ship vibe. One thing that I will say is that Carnival Elation also has a decent amount of features. Some of the smaller, older ships are lacking, especially like on other cruise lines like Royal and stuff. You don't get as many of the, like water slides and zip lines and all those cool features, but I feel like the Carnival Elation has a good balance of the small old classic cruise ship vibe while still offering a good amount of amenities and things to do on board. And then for final thoughts, I'll go ahead and close out by saying that this was a really great sailing for me. I enjoyed both of my sailings on Carnival Elation. There are some things that I think can be improved, but overall, I am impressed by how good of shape this ship is in, even compared to some of the ships that are newer in Carnival's fleet. Carnival Elation is being very well maintained, in my opinion. And considering that Carnival Elation tends to be a little bit cheaper, a little bit more budget friendly, and it goes out of Jacksonville, which is a really easy port to go out of and, a pretty nice cruise port overall, in my opinion. Assuming you're not looking for the latest and greatest bells and whistles and you can get past the kind of like dated decor and, small ship vibe, etc. This might be a good ship for you. And I personally enjoyed it. So yeah, if you've been on Elation before, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were on this fantasy class ship. And if you're going to be on the Elation in the near future, let me know as well. I hope this video was helpful, etc. But yeah, I want to thank you all so much for traveling with me. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those fun things. We'll talk soon, and y'all have a good night.